that is when you realize that your success is inevitable because you're going to keep going. You're not stopping. The only way to truly actually fail at something is to give up, to stop moving forward. So once you become fully devoted and fully committed to changing your life and living the life that you truly want to live, it will happen for you because you're not going to stop until it does. Hey there, lovely. If you're a driven and highly ambitious woman who has checked all the boxes, followed all the rules, only to realize you don't actually feel fulfilled or you don't feel like you're living your purpose, then you are absolutely in the right place. My name is Melissa Chavis. I'm an intuitive mindset coach, and I am absolutely obsessed with helping you discover your true purpose, that thing you were put here on this earth to do so that you can live the most fulfilling and abundant life possible. Hey there, beautiful. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. This week, I want to talk about something that may seem a little bit of an odd topic in the self-development space, but just hear me out here. I have been thinking a lot about the last year of my life. It's been just over a year since I left my corporate job and truly went all in on creating the life that I wanted for myself. And so I've been thinking a lot about the topic of devotion. Now, this isn't devotion in the sense of like religious devotion or romantic devotion, those contexts where you might typically hear the word devotion. This is a devotion to the practices and modalities that will create the shifts in your life that are ultimately needed to take your life in a new direction, to actually create this life that you desire to have. Because let's be honest, we can talk about the various changes that you need to make, mindset shifts or rewiring your subconscious, but actual lasting transformation is something that takes time and continuous effort. It just is. I know we hear a lot about making a decision and changing your life or manifesting your dream life. And those things are all true, all possible and necessary, but it doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't just happen by making the decision and then boom, your life looks totally different tomorrow. It doesn't look like setting an intention and visualizing this manifestation and then boom, tomorrow your life looks exactly like you visualized it. That just doesn't happen. In order to maintain your commitment to this journey and keep going day in and day out, you need to create a certain level of devotion to this transformation. You need to be devoted to those daily practices and the daily intention of changing your life, right? So there's this idea in the self-development space that once you realize that it is all about the journey and not the destination, that's when you ultimately become the version of yourself that you've been trying to be. And I absolutely agree with this. Once you've developed that devotion to the process and you're able to truly feel the power of your daily practices and your daily commitment, that is when your life has truly changed because you just see the world differently. And like we've talked about before, it's all about perspective. It's all about the lens through which you're seeing the world. And so once you get to this place where you see the power in these practices and you see the power that is in this devotion that you have to the journey, you are different. You have become a different version of yourself. You have typically become someone who values and enjoys the process of transformation, someone who feels lit up and excited about every breakthrough and aha moment along the way. And you know that it was fully worth the discomfort and sometimes struggle that it took to get there. Once you're fully devoted and committed to looking within yourself and facing every challenging belief or thought that comes up for you, and you know that there is no stopping, no giving up, that is when you realize that your success is inevitable because you're going to keep going. You're not stopping. The only way to truly actually fail at something is to give up, to stop moving forward. So once you become fully devoted and fully committed to changing your life and living the life that you truly want to live, it will happen for you because you're not going to stop until it does. And so that level of devotion that needs to be developed in order to keep going, no matter what comes up, no matter what happens, that is what is required to truly make this transformation and to truly change your life by ultimately changing how you see the world around you and how you move through your day. And so, as I mentioned, this is something that I've been thinking about as I've been reflecting on the last year of my life, because it has officially been actually just over a year since I left my corporate job. 1 year since I decided that I am no longer willing to sacrifice my joy, my freedom, my fulfillment in this life in order to avoid feeling this discomfort of stepping outside of my comfort zone. I am no longer willing to sacrifice those things just to avoid the fear of taking the path less traveled. To me, it is more important to create this life for myself than it is to stay comfortable, than it is to avoid all of these uncomfortable feelings that are going to come up along the way. So it's been a year since I fully dove headfirst into this journey of truly following the path that I knew was right for me. I invested in the mentorship that I knew I needed to support me and keep me going, even when times got tough. I invested in learning the skills I needed to learn in order to run my own business. And of course, along the way, there have been many failures and disappointments and so much fear that has come up for me. I've had to learn over and over and over again that I am the only thing that is ever standing in my way. I've had to pivot, I've had to shift, and I have had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way. And I wouldn't take any of it back. I wouldn't change a single thing about my journey over the last year because ultimately it has truly changed me. It has changed who I am. It has changed how I see the world. It has changed my actual life around me. And I currently live a life that I could never have imagined was actually possible for me just 10 years ago. If you had said to me 10 years ago, oh, this is what your life is going to look like in 10 years, I would have been like, that's how is that even possible? That just doesn't even seem realistic for me. And honestly, it wasn't, it isn't. It's not about what's realistic because your brain has such a limited concept of what is realistic for you and has such a limited understanding of what you're capable of. You're capable of so, so much more than what you can even conceive. And I realize that now, and I know that. And I know that when my brain tries to tell me that I'm not, that it just doesn't understand. It just doesn't know. The only reference point my brain has is my past, and my future is not going to look like my past. And so the brain has no way of conceiving it. Therefore, I know that as long as I keep moving forward, as long as I keep envisioning the future that I want to have, I will keep moving forward and keep moving toward it every single day because I'm absolutely devoted to this path in my life. I am not available for anything else at this point. And that is where I've had to get to in order to truly create the change. Because when you allow yourself to kind of consider other options and think about, well, maybe I could do this other thing, when it starts to get really uncomfortable, because it does, when it starts to get really uncomfortable and you start to feel really scared about the possibilities for the future, when you allow yourself to kind of sink back into what feels more comfortable and what you're a little more used to, and you consider these other possibilities and other options for yourself, like that is when you fall back out. That is when you kind of lose that level of devotion. That is when you don't end up making the changes that you really are trying to make in your life. And so you absolutely have to become unavailable for those. Those aren't options anymore. Living the life that you've always lived in the way that you always have is no longer an option. And that's what I had to do. That is no longer an option for me. My life is going to look different. My life does look different, and it always will. And it is going to look even different 10 years from now. And I am certain of that because I'm not going to stop changing, growing, evolving, and following my passions. So it's only going to grow. It's only going to get better from here. And I'm certain of that at this point. And truly, what is required is becoming committed at that level to growing and challenging yourself every single day. I know that I need to continuously come back to myself and figure out the next step as I go. Just moving one foot in front of the other without ever fully knowing exactly where I'll end up next. Just knowing that I'm moving in the right direction. And as I said, I'm still going. As I achieve each milestone on my journey, it only fuels my devotion to keep going and to keep leaning in. This life is truly full of joy and fulfillment and freedom and everything that I had hoped that it would be. That is what I'm creating, and that is what I'm going to continue to create in my life. So I came into this journey knowing that my purpose is to help other women discover this kind of life for themselves. And everything that has happened since, all of the ups and downs, the twists and turns, the challenges that I've faced have truly only fueled that desire even more. I want to show as many women as possible that you can change your life. You can have a life that looks completely different than the one you have right now. You can have a life that is full of joy, full of fulfillment, full of peace and freedom and happiness and excitement. And you can feel lit up about the life that you're living every single day. And that is possible when you become devoted and you take charge of the direction of your life. So if you're still here and you're still listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, this is what I'm here for. I am here for this too. Let's chat because this life is absolutely possible for you. It's just a matter of making that decision and becoming unavailable for anything else in your life. And if this episode has inspired you today, I encourage you to grab a pen and some paper and just take some time to start writing out what you actually want in this life. And don't think about it from the lens of what's realistic or achievable based on your brain's limited understanding of your capacity. Because, as I mentioned, the only reference point your brain has is your past. And if you don't want your future to look like your past, then your brain's going to have a really hard time conceiving that it's actually possible for you. So write it all out, get it all out there in front of you. This is the first step. Truly putting it out there, starting to visualize, what do I want in my life? What does my ideal life look like? And then it's a matter of starting to take action toward it and becoming unavailable for any life that doesn't look like that. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you again, same time, same place next week. With all of my love, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. That's it for another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you found it helpful, I'd love to hear from you. You can do that by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel or rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you're listening.